The original Gears of War was iconic for so many reasons, but mainly it was the first time people had really seen the quality of graphics like that coming through on Xbox. It was darker, grittier, and there was just nothing like it on the market at the time.
One of the things we used to describe Gears was heavy. We wanted the world to have weight, not this clean, light, kind of froofy sci-fi. We kind of came up with this theme, destroyed beauty, with the environments, and that made them feel heavy and almost burdened with the elements of time and war.
When we centered around what the fans really expected from the series and what we really wanted to bring through, that helped us come up with our pipeline that we then follow through with the levels.
We don't really start on anything until we have a inspirational piece. It really quickly gives someone a snapshot of the tone and the mood and what we're going for.
You know, concept usually starts with working with the art director, setting the visual tone, just getting the design of the set dressing out there.
We definitely had some challenges where, you know, I would call maybe overzealousness of artists to try to make something look really cool, but in doing that, they've changed a corner or changed the sightline, which then has a knock-on effect to where you can stand when you're playing multiplayer and you can get shot, where before you weren't getting shot. So we definitely, in our first few levels, had to keep a strict eye on that.
Every asset in the game has been reauthored from scratch using modern techniques. So we have a physical base shader now, everything's been resculpted and reauthored. So what we're talking about isn't just a straight A to B port of a game, but an absolute from the ground up rebuilt game to serve this generation of gamers.
Being on Xbox One, we're able to push a lot more particles through the system. So I think you'll find, for example, in the original first level of Prison, we've added way more fog and way more dirty air, and it just, when the lighting hits that, you get a really nice sort of gritty feel, which is what we wanted to amplify.
We have lightning and weather systems and water systems that were never previously seen in the Gears of War universe, and just changed the look of the game immediately.
The lighting is that last piece of the puzzle. That's the part that when you go in there, you really can make something look wonderful and look really, really beautiful. We understood what was, you know, the emotional tone of every single moment of the game, of every single level, and the color palette, the choices that we make in terms of the lighting and the color script are really there to enhance it.
You feel as if you're surviving in this living, breathing world where at any moment the Locust could come crashing out of the ground and attack you. And all of that sits together as the fabric of what you experience now in Gears of War.
The Locusts are beasts, beasts from beneath. We wanted to see them in dark places, but see that face that just kind of peers out of the darkness, you know, and would steal children in the night, that type of thing, you know.
We really wanted this idea of a subterranean monster and not an alien. And so when a lot of the visual development that people like Chris Perna put into it was that idea of what happens when you take a creature and push it subterranean for a long period of time. And so that led to the sort of albino skin and the idea of the sort of lizard man kind of look.
With everything we did, we tried to separate what would make a cog and a Locust a Locust. Cog have energy and gas-driven vehicles and weaponry, and Locust use beasts and kind of twist and torture things into doing their bidding.
It's a game about killing those monsters and feeling empowered as you chainsaw them in half. So we're going from the sort of Xbox 360 version to the Xbox One version. We had to look very carefully about how far to push things. And so really what we tried to do is really try to stay true to what was there, but kind of clean it up.
The Locust are a bit of a motley crew. We have the giant boomer, we have the drone, and creatures like the Corpse are kind of compiled out of lots of different anatomies.
We really wanted to amp up this idea of they're earthy and they're dirty and they have a lot of cracks. And if you look at the Locust weapons, they have a lot of they look like dry earth sort of cracking on the paint.
So even for things like leather and metal, we created standards. So we had one specific set of metal, one specific leather texture and skin texture that we could then share across all the Locust characters, and in the end this made them feel all like they belong in that same world and like they all came from that one place.
You even see elements of kind of real world things in there, so where armor sits against skin, you start to see that the skin looks ill and worn and sore, for want of a better word.
You know, one of the nice things about remastering and sort of this modernization that we're doing is we have more time to think about these things. And I think that one of the bigger ones is ROM, as an example. You know, ROM, he was a kind of an enemy that came on late, and we ended up we were behind in production, so we sort of took a simpler path. And so why not, instead of putting the same production kind of limitations and constraints we had on us back then, 10 years ago, is there a way to sort of say, if we had given the original artist an extra month to make him, what would they have potentially done differently? And so now you see that in his visuals and in his texture and his shape and his size and his coloring. It's like, it's still true to what ROM was, but it's tweaked a little bit and taken a little step further because we had that time. And so what we've tried to do is kind of really pay honor to what was there and the original vision that the original artists had, yet take it to kind of a slightly newer place.